The story begins with the meeting of two mafia bosses meeting on the island of Lampedusa, the Mediterranean Sea. The representatives of other mafia group are pursuing Massimo's father to join the trafficking industry, in exchange for a sizable piece of the profits, but despite the promises of a sizable portion, Massimo's father refuses the offer and summons Mario to handle them. Meanwhile, Massimo is peering through binoculars at the beautiful girl on the beach who is having a fantastic time there. When his father approaches him, he asks him what he is gazing at. Massimo passes him the binoculars, and his father glances at the same woman. He advises Massimo that attractive women are heaven for the eyes and hell for the soul. Father further says Massimo needs to take over their family business, and it's not the time for such foolishness. Unfortunately, everything falls apart when his father is shot, and the situation quickly spirals out of control since the bullet passes through his father's body and hits Massimo as well. Everyone rushes to assist them as they both collapse to the ground. After 5 years of upheaval, Massimo has taken over father's corporation. During the conference in San Francisco, the management informed Massimo that only 12% of his family's assets had been recouped by the business. Upon hearing this, he demands a complete refund with 10% interest before the end of the month. Massimo won't accept no as an answer and won't allow anyone to make him look dumb. The unexpected reappearance of several guards serves as a warning. Massimo intimidates the board members to show his supremacy.
What is it?
We have this game in America, trick or treat.
If they refuse to cooperate, Massimo threatened to expose their wrongdoing. On the other hand, in Poland, Laura continues to work in her career and isn't hesitant to speak her mind, especially in a field where men predominate. After arriving home, Laura discovers her boyfriend Martin working on a notebook. He tells her to rest because they have an early morning flight. Finally, Laura walks away from him, making it apparent that she is unhappy. Afterward, Massimo and Mario fly to Italy. During the journey, Massimo learns that his shipment has been taken hostage for ransom, and Domenico assures to track down and punish the culprit. Massimo, on the other hand, doesn't say anything in response to the information. Instead, he swallows his rage and returns to his cabin. The following morning, Laura and a group of pals travel to Sicily, Italy, along with Martin and Olga. Martin informs everyone about Laura's 29th birthday, and they wish her by singing her a happy birthday song. The waiter brings Laura's preferred beverage to the table. She smiles and thanks Martin for remembering it. In contrast, Martin acknowledged that he did not come up with the idea for the beverage. Laura is shocked and says that she needs to use the restroom. On her way there, she encounters the charming and alluring Massimo.
Are you lost, baby girl?
The following day, Laura and Olga chill by the pool while Laura shares with her best friend how much Martin takes for granted. Laura also claims she hasn't seen Martin all morning and tried calling his phone but was unreachable. Moreover, Martin prioritizes his friends and career over her. Finally, Martin shows up with a broad smile on his face. Martin claims that while visiting Etna, he had a great time there.
Nie pamiętasz, idiota, że mieliśmy tam pójść razem?
Laura further asks why he is spoiling her special day. Martin cautions her against being irritated, especially considering her weakened heart. However, Laura was outraged and tossed her lover into the swimming pool before fleeing. Laura walks around the city in the evening because she is depressed and unsatisfied, which leads to the attractive girl being abducted. Laura wakes up in one of the rooms of an unfamiliar mansion. After some time, the door is suddenly unlocked, and Laura immediately looks for a way out but finds a giant picture of herself in the hallway. Massimo suddenly shows up, and as soon as Laura recognizes him, he asks if she's ever been lost. Massimo urges Laura to sit down, but she questions who Massimo is and why he's abducted her.
Answer me.
Sit down.
I'm not your property.
Massimo explained to her that he had seen her on the seashore 5 years prior, the day his father had died from bleeding to death. After that, all he could think about was Laura. So Massimo started looking for her worldwide shortly after he healed. He couldn't believe his eyes when he first saw Laura at the airport a few days ago because he was sure he would see her again, and that she would be his.
Nobody owns me. I'm not an object.
Massimo ends by vowing never to make love to her without her consent. Laura reminds Massimo that she has a boyfriend and relatives who will be looking for her. Massimo shows Martin pictures of him having an affair with different women. Massimo states that his guys have already left a message in Martin's chamber notifying him that Laura has returned to Poland to disappear from his life due to this toxic relationship. Laura tries to flee in rage, but Massimo grabs her and pulls her back onto the chair. Massimo further stated that she had 365 days to fall in love with him, and that if nothing changed by her birthday the following year, he would release her. Laura makes another attempt to flee while carrying Massimo's gun. When he attempts to stop her, she aims at him. On the other hand, Massimo disarms her quickly. The sudden presence of Mario and Domenico causes disruption. Mario informs Massimo that a delivery has been made. Massimo tells Domenico to take her back to her room. Mario informs Massimo about an impending dilemma with the business and the Gacciuso family. He then makes his way to the cellar where Alfredo is imprisoned. He is penalized for disrespecting the family by selling kids to a brothel. Massimo told Alfredo that he would be erased as if he had never lived. Laura attempted to flee the estate. However, after witnessing Massimo execute Alfredo, she is apprehended, causing Laura to pass out instantaneously. The next morning, Laura awakens to find Massimo seated next to her bed, explaining why he executed Alfredo. Yet again, Laura ignores him and instead requests her laptop and mobile phone, which Massimo assures her she will have when the time is ideal. Massimo tells Laura to get dressed because they are going to Etna. Laura begins fighting because she doesn't want to leave the house. Laura finally hits him, and Massimo cautions her not to hit him again. She then enjoys a great brunch with Domenico. After that, Massimo accompanies Laura shopping in Etna. Laura only purchases the most costly outfits and shoes. Laura senses an opportunity while shopping and attempts to run once more. Laura anxiously seeks assistance. But Massimo swiftly catches up with her and counsels her to accept her situation.
If you feel like running, you should wear a different kind of shoes.
Laura confronts him on his commitment not to touch her without her consent. Massimo nods in agreement, leading Laura to ask for her laptop and phone once more. She also requests pierogi for dinner.
My grandma makes them better.
When Laura inquires about his occupation, Massimo discusses his legal ventures while keeping his criminal ventures a secret.
The whole is part of a bigger operation. The details are useless.
Massimo further stated that once his father passed away, he was chosen to lead the family. After supper, Laura returns to her room and finds her laptop and phone on her bed. Massimo gives her possessions back as a kind gesture. She immediately calls her mother to let her know that everything is fine and that she has been offered a job in Sicily. The following morning, Massimo forces Laura to board his aircraft for the journey to Rome. Later, Laura visits him in his hotel room and teases him once more. Massimo declines to make love with her. Instead, he instructs her to dress up because they must be in one of his clubs. Laura dons an explicitly provoking attire and goes to Massimo's club with Domenico, which irritates Massimo.
You'll be mine, I guarantee it.
Keep on dreaming.
He becomes even more enraged when she dances with a member of a rival mafia family. When the other man tries to compel her, Massimo shows up and demands the rival's family leave his club while pointing firearms at them. Laura awakens on Massimo's yacht, where she overhears him debating with Mario about shooting the man's hand who tried to abuse her. Mario informs him that he has sparked a feud between two powerful clans, and that the only way to defuse the situation is to get rid of Laura and ask Anna's forgiveness. Laura intervenes and apologizes for the shambles she's created. Massimo informs her in frustration that if she had dressed adequately, it would not have come to that. The two get into a fight, and Laura eventually falls into the river as a result. Massimo rushes to dive into the water to rescue her. When Laura regains consciousness, she thanks him for saving her life. Massimo told her he didn't want to lose her. Finally, Massimo manages to win Laura's affection, and they eventually end up making love together. That night, the adorable couple goes to a ball and participates in group dancing. Anna unexpectedly appears, introduces herself to Laura as the first and true love of Massimo, and warns Massimo in Italian that she will kill Laura before leaving. Laura is naturally curious as to what she said in Italian.
What did she say?
Doesn't matter. I will never let anyone hurt you.
Back at the hotel, Massimo informs her that Domenico will take her to the airport the next day for her flight to Poland so he can meet her family. On their way to the airport, Domenico assures Laura that Anna won't be a problem. Then, Domenico abruptly stops the car due to a phone call and dash away. Laura then pays Olga a visit and tells her what occurred in Sicily. Laura confesses to being in love with Massimo. She also expresses her concern that Massimo is keeping her in the dark and treating her like a doll. So Olga proposes that they go out to lift her mood. Both gorgeous ladies spend a day in a salon and spa, and after a makeover, they head to a pub to have fun. While having fun, Martin shows up out of nowhere and apologizes for his actions. Martin also claimed to be in love with her, but Laura did listen to his rubbish because he cheated on her. As Laura walks out on him, he follows her back to convince her to the apartment. Laura urges him to leave right away.
It's rather clear that she wants you to leave.
Once Martin leaves, Laura smacks Massimo, angry at him for ignoring her for a while. Laura slaps him repeatedly, and their altercation quickly turns into a passionate embrace. Laura then sobs, claiming she doesn't need 365 days, ultimately admitting she loves him. The following day, Massimo asks Laura to marry him, and she says yes. They had a good time while shopping. Following that, Laura introduces Massimo to her parents while cautioning him not to disclose his profession when they ask him.
I'm a gangster.
Really?
They discussed wedding preparations when they returned to Italy. However, she does not want her parents to find out the truth about Massimo. Instead, she wants to invite Olga because she knows everything about Massimo. He agrees and departs for Palermo. Olga arrives and finds that Laura is pregnant, which makes her angry. Massimo and Laura have just been together for 2 months. Olga nevertheless counsels Laura to let Massimo know about the pregnancy. Laura then phones Massimo and asks if they can discuss things over dinner. Simultaneously, Mario receives a phone call warning him that Laura is in danger. Meanwhile, Laura's car enters a tunnel, and her phone conversation with Massimo is disconnected. Mario hurries up to Massimo to alert him of the terrible news. Massimo regrettably falls to the ground as soon as Mario enters the scene, recognizing he might have just lost the girl he loves. Laura's car does not appear from the tunnel. Instead, a police cruiser blocks the exit. So that was 365 days. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and turn on the notification so you won't miss the next recap. Until then, cheers.